Hi, this is Munson from Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you can play a song by Natalie called Owensboro, and it's actually an old cotton mill workers tune. But we're going to start on the D major chord, and the way you play D major, first finger is going to go G on the second finger, or second fret. Second finger is going to go to the high E on the second fret, and the third finger goes to the B string on the third fret. And if you strum just the D, G, B, and E, then that sounds a D major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then we're going to end up doing the D major 4 times from the beginning. And then from the D major, we're going to go to a G major chord. And when we play G major, first finger is going to go to the A string on the second fret. Second finger is going to go to low E on the third fret. Third finger is going to go to the high E on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then from the G major chord, we're going to be going back to the D major chord. And then after that D major, or that second D major chord, we're going to go to a B minor chord. And there's a couple ways that you could kind of cheat this and make it easier, but if you know the full bar at B minor, you take your first finger and go across the entire second fret. Second finger is going to go B string on the third fret, third finger on the D string on the fourth fret, and the pinky on the G string on the fourth fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a B minor chord, and it sounds really, really sad. But if you're just starting out and bars are kind of difficult, you could actually just take a little piece of that chord to kind of use it as your B minor. So if you put your first finger on the high E on the second, second finger on the B string on the third, and third finger on the G string on the fourth fret, you can kind of strum the top 3 strings or the top 4 strings even, and still have a B minor chord. And if you wanted to, you could even kind of keep first finger on the high E second, second finger on the B string third, and take third finger and go D string fourth, and then take the pinky and go G string fourth. And that gives you a little bit more powerful sounding B minor, just with using top 4 strings. But I would really recommend trying to kind of get that full bar sound. It just sound bigger that way. But then from the B, then we're going to go to a G major chord. And then right after that, it sounds like you could just do just a regular D major, but there's another chord called D slash F sharp, which means you've got a D chord but with an F sharp in the bass. And you play that chord as first finger is going to go to the low E on the second fret, second finger is going to go G string on the second fret, third finger is going to go high E on the second fret, and the pinky goes to the B string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that makes something called a D slash F sharp. And that sounds really, really happy. But if you're just starting out, then you could really just substitute in a D chord for that. But I think it can sound really good to get the bass lead from the D slash F sharp, because it kind of helps point to the G chord. And then we go back to the D slash F sharp, but then we go to an A major chord. And the way you play A major, first finger is going to go D on the second fret, second finger is going to go G on the second fret, and the third finger goes to the B string on the second fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like A major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then from the A major, we're going to be going right back to D major and kind of ending our phrase for our D major and our D major. And that's basically our pattern through the entire song until we get to the tag at the very end, which kind of just repeats our last couple phrases. But a lot of times with a song like this, to make it more interesting, I like adding what I call a strum pattern to it. And one of my favorite 4/4 strum patterns is down, down, up, up, down, up. So if you just took the D and just tried that a lot, you have down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up. So we tried that through our progression. Then we'd have D, down, down, up, down, 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 G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, B minor, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D slash F sharp, down, down, G, down, down, up, down, D slash F sharp, down, down, B, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, 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 up. So that would be one way to kind of play through the song. We'll talk about where to move it for key in a minute. But another strum pattern that I would think about adding to this song because of the feel of it is we're going to have something called a 16th note. And what a 16th note is if you're tapping your foot, right now the down, down, up, down, up is working off a division of 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 of your foot. what a 16th note is where you get 4 on a foot tap. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's called a 16th note. And this song really works pretty well with a long down, 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 up. And what I mean by that is, like, if you took the D and did it down for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you do on the first beat. And on the second beat, you do a down, down, up, or a down on 1, down on 3, up on 4. So you have down, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So all together, you got a long down, 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 up, long down, 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 up, long down, 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 up, long down, 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 up. And so we tried that through our chord progression. We'd have D, down, down, up, D. Slash F sharp, down, down, G down, 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 D slash F sharp, down, down, A down, 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 D down, 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 D down, 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 up. So that would be another way you can kind of work through the tune. And then something else I would think about adding, and you can even do this with the down, down, up, down, up, is adding bass notes to all our chords. So a lot of times instead of doing down, down, up, down, up, you could actually do bass, down, up, down, up. And what I mean by that is on the D chord, you can play the D string for the bass, and then do your down, up, down, and after that. So you got bass on the D, down, up, down, D with the D bass, down, up, down, D with the D bass, down, up, down, up. And then on your G chord, then your low E string would be your bass. So you have low E, down, up, down, G with the low E bass, down, up, down, G with the low E bass, down, up, down, G with the low E bass, down, up. And then on the B minor chord, you can do the A string for the bass. You're gonna have that same thing: A bass, down, up, down, B minor with the A bass, down, down, B minor with the A bass, down, down, up. And then if you're using your D slash F sharp, then your bass is gonna be on the low E string. So you got low E bass, down, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, down, up. And then when you get to your A chord, then you have the A string for the bass, down, down, A with an A bass, down, down, A with an A bass, down, down, up. So we tried that through our progression. Then we have D with the D bass, down, down, 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 G with the low E bass, down, down, G with the low E bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, B minor with the A bass, down, down, G with the low E bass, down, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, down, G with the low E bass, down, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, down, A with an A bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down. So that would be another way to do it. Another thing you could do is you could do the bass, like working off the 16th note, is do a bass and then the down, down, up. Or down, down, up. Yeah, that was right, yeah. So like if you took the D chord, for instance, you could do the bass and then a down, down, up. Bass, down, D with the D bass, down, D with the D bass, down, up. And then on your G, you'd still have your low E for your bass, down, G with low E bass, down, G with low E bass, down, up. And then your B minor, you still got the A string for the bass, down, up, A bass, down, B minor with the A bass, down, up. And then when we do our D slash F sharp, your bass is still on low E, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, up. And then when you get to your A chord, then your A string would still be your bass. So A bass, down, up, A bass, down, up. So that would be another way you could do it. So you could try doing, so we try that through our progression. We got D with the D bass, down, 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 G with the low E bass, down, G with the low E bass, down, D with the D bass, down, D with the D bass, down, D minor with the A bass, down, G with the low E bass, down, D slash F sharp with the low E bass, down, G with the low E bass, down, down, D slash F sharp with low E bass, down, down, A with an A bass, down, down, D with a D bass, down, down, D with a D bass, down, down, down. So that would be another way to do it. And something else that I like to do is instead of using the pick at all, I actually go fingerstyle on this. And what you could do is kind of line up your thumb for your bass notes on the, so his job is to play the D string, A string, or E string. And then if you put index on the G string, middle finger on the B string, and then the ring finger on the high E string, you can kind of work an arpeggio or breaking up the chord with the fingers. So on the D major, you may want to try doing thumb and then index middle ring. It's kind of an arpeggio. So your thumb's the bass player and you're going the D string, index, middle, ring, or D string, G string, B string, E string in the chord. And if you do that twice, that'll equal one of our down, down, up, down ups from before. So you're gonna have a bass note on the D string for the D chord. And then when you go to the G chord, then your low E string would be your bass. And then when you get to your B minor chord, then your A string would be your bass. And your fingers would just kind of stay index, middle, ring on the G, B, E. And then when you get to your D slash F sharp, then you'd have low E string on the second for the bass. And then when you get to the A chord, then you have the A string for your bass on your A chord. So you could do as an arpeggio piece, as a fingerstyle thing. So we tried that through our progression. We have D, another D, another D, another D, and then G, G, D with a D bass, D with a D bass, B minor with A bass, G with the low E bass, D slash F sharp with low E bass, G with the low E bass, D slash F sharp with low E bass, A with an A bass, D with a D bass, D with a D bass. So that would be another option too. One of the weird things, if you want to play along with the recording, instead of actually being on a D chord, Natalie Merchant's actually starting on an F chord. So what you want to do is take a capo, and if you put it on 3rd fret, then now your D major is really an F major, your G major is really a B flat major, and then when we get to it, the B minor is really a D minor chord, and your D slash F sharp is really an F major with an A in the bass, so F slash A. And your A major, when we get to it, is really a C major chord. But just to try that through a little bit of all these different ways that we've been talking about, you could try just down, down, up, down, up. And then you have the D, down, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, 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 D, down, 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 B minor, down, down, G, down, down, D slash F sharp, down, G, down, D slash F sharp, down, up, down, A with an A bass, down, down, D with a D bass, down, down, D with a D bass, down, down, D with a D bass, down, D with a D bass, down, D with a D bass, down, G with low E bass, down, G with low E bass, down, D with a D bass, down, D with a D bass, down, B minor with A bass, G with low E bass, D slash F sharp with low E bass, G with low E bass, D slash F sharp with low E bass, A with the A bass, D with the D bass, D with the D bass. So that would be another option. Now just as an aside, there's another really cool chord that kind of happens through the tune. Where right after that, we got the D major 4 times, and we got the G major twice, and then we come back to D major. And right on that D before the B minor, there's this really cool move where it goes from the D bass to a D slash C sharp. And what a D slash C sharp is where you keep the D chord down and you take the pinky and go to where the A string on the 4th fret would have been. And then if you're using the A string for the bass note on that chord, then that's called D
slash C sharp. So one thing with the fingerstyle that I really like to do is I'll do the D string for the bass on the first thumb, index, middle, ring, and then I'll put D slash C sharp as kind of a lead-in to the B minor chord. So just
good luck!